Well, for weeks, she was unable to breathe on her own in a coma and near death. Last night, we showed you the remarkable recovery of Andrea Vellinga, how the 30-year-old wife and mom from Pendleton is doing 3 months after the rigging collapse at the state fair. 24-hour News 8's Adrienne Broaddus has been following Andrea's story for us. Tonight, she takes a closer look at why Andrea has to leave the state for her next level of care.
Good. Now, can you point your toes down? Good, and then pull them up. That's awesome.
5 days per week.
You got it, you got it. Open, 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 open.
3 hours each day.
Cheater, cheater, cheating.
I'm sorry, cheating. Open.
Andrea Vellinga tackles tasks others consider simple. Tasks like wiggling her fingers.
They're trying to open. Yes, see? Yes. Look at that. Did you see that? That was awesome.
Or tossing a beanbag. Her left hand is paralyzed.
Good job, Mom.
This is a huge step for the mother and wife who was in a coma for 6 weeks.
This is breaking news.
A stage collapse at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
The 30-year-old was pinned underneath the twisted and tangled steel stage when the rigging collapsed at the state fair.
What do you remember about that night?
Nothing.
Her skull was crushed, a lung collapsed, and she had 3 broken vertebrae in her spine. Remarkably, she's continued to improve.
We call her Miracle Girl because she is our Miracle Girl.
When she first got here, she was breathing through a tube in her neck. She was getting nutrition from a tube in her stomach.
It's been hard because there's a lot of therapy.
Exhausting, but the journey for Andrea isn't over.
Don't grab onto the door, okay?
She's gone as far as she can here at the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indianapolis. But it's not her body or doctors standing in the way.
Despite being one of the largest metropolitan cities and a hub for health care, Indiana doesn't have advanced facilities to keep traumatic brain injury patients like Andrea in the state. So for the next phase of her therapy, she'll have to spend at least 3 to 6 months at a facility in Michigan. The question now is why?
There are really 3 things that have to come together in the state of Indiana, and we're working diligently on that now. But one is the funding stream.
Senator Patricia Miller is leading a fight. She introduced a bill last year that would have paved the way for traumatic brain injury rehabilitative services in Indiana. State lawmakers rejected it. Coupled with funding, Congress must approve a licensing category and providers willing to provide the costly care.
And I've talked to individuals that are interested in developing traumatic brain injury services. So if we can bring all 3 of those things together this year, then next year in a budget cycle we can move forward.
Similar legislation will be back on the table in January. Those backing Miller, like Dr. Lance Trexler, say there can be setbacks when patients leave the state.
I think it is detrimental to their recovery process, and we need to provide these services in Indiana.
Trexler chairs the Brain Injury Association of Indiana and has lobbied in Washington for adequate brain injury services here. If patients don't get all the care they need, he says there are consequences.
The rates of depression are about 60 to 70% within 1 year after injury. The rate of divorce goes up to as high as 85%.
Wow, that's incredible.
As for Andrea, statistics are just that. She's beaten the odds once and determined to do it again.
Adrienne Broaddus, 24-hour News 8.
And Adrienne says that if legislation passes, it would take about 1.5 years to have a post-acute facility. This won't help Andrea, but her family has said they don't want it to happen to other families. Andrea, by the way, is expected to head to Michigan after Thanksgiving for her continued care.